Hello and welcome to rounds 5 and 6 of TGP2 live in the USA for the last 5 minutes of qualifying. I'm Mr. Chappelli, and joining me in the commentary box is a well-known face of TGP, a champion, and the greatest personality to come out of the northwest of England. Welcome to Dan the Man. How are we today?
Thank you, Luther, for that lovely introduction. Yeah, good evening, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, looking forward to tonight's racing. Two excellent circuits, two very quick circuits. Should be two entertaining races.
Indeed. As you say, two excellent circuits tonight. We've got two quite challenging tracks tonight in the US and in Saudi. And they're quite challenging as well for polar opposite reasons. So, Dan, from your experience, what skills will the drivers need to rely upon most to get the most out of tonight?
Well, it's certainly in Saudi Arabia. You need to be brave, especially around some of the quick corners. But maybe for here in USA, possibly a little bit more precise. But you need to be quick through the S's in the first sector, but then also be good through the sort of technical final sector with the awkward corners as you start the final sector can sometimes get a bit, off putting. You're never really sure what the right line is, but it provides good battles though, because of course there's various different ways to take those corners. So you should get some good battles in the race, but certainly for your qualifying lap, you just have to try and get it inch perfect.
Yeah, you mentioned about the precision and being inch perfect as well. And a hidden challenge for the drivers, especially in these two races, is probably track limits. I mean, how hard is it to balance pushing hard to get the lap time and also keeping it in between the lines when, looking for a pole lap or fighting for a win?
Yeah, it can be very difficult, especially certainly around this. Oh, and Lewis Craig just hit the pit entry. He was coming into the pit lane. He went a bit too far and hit the pit wall, but he's only lost his front wing, so we'll get away with it. But yeah, certainly at that penultimate corner, which obviously in real F1 is a corner that we often see quite a bit of track extend, and that's particularly difficult if you run a bit wide there, or if you cut the corner on the entry to you take too much curb and you get your lap time invalidated. You do all your work all through the lap and then mess it up towards the end like that can be so frustrating. But hopefully these guys will manage to stay on the black stuff. But it is Wheelnut on pole at the minute, but it's so close between Wheelnut, Speed Sully, and Wet Lemons, and then championship leader Lewis Craig is only down in fourth. But Wet Lemons did take part in GDP1 yesterday and was very quick, so I am expecting them to improve quite a bit in the final runs. But let's see what the others can do as well.
Indeed, yeah, we're going to follow Wet Lemons for his what I imagine will be his final attempt at qualifying in the USA. Just watching him on his outlap at the moment, winding up around this very technical section of the circuit, as you mentioned. So, Dan, would you do the honours of walking us through a lap around COTA?
Yeah, we'll do with Wet Lemons then, as we see if is he hopefully he's going to avoid this traffic here. Shouldn't be too distracting. It'll just be there ahead of him. Hopefully he's not quick enough that he actually ends up catching up that Ferrari. It's actually Speed Sully who's just ahead in second place on the roads at the minute. So anyway, let's see. Well, Emmons going up the hill then into turn one. So difficult to get the braking point right, and he's gone a little bit deep in to try to get the apex, but it's okay. I'll do it. It's no problem really. Now you've got the S's coming up. How much speed can you take through them, and how risky are you going to go with the track extending? He's done well, very well. The car gets out the way. His teammates first, second. He's nearly 3 tenths up, so this is looking promising so far. And you've got this awkward corner, so it's difficult to get in the power here. The car can sometimes step out, but it looks like Wet Lemons has done a good job here. And as he's beginning to get closer and closer to this Ferrari, isn't he? You might get a bit of a slipstream along with the DRS now down this back straight, and you can see because this qualifying session takes place basically near sunset. You think that's why the sun is incredibly distracting as you go down this back straight here. But hopefully Wet Lemons can get his braking point right and clip the apex here on the entry to the corner. He does that very well. It's been a tidy lap so far for Wet Lemons, and he's 4 tenths up now. He set for 1:34.0 yesterday in TGP1, an incredible lap time for him. Let's see if he can get near that or even beat it this time around. Now you've got this long right-hander, and it can be easy to lose the car here. The tyres are screaming at this point. He's done the entire lap, of course. He's got Speed Sully just ahead of him, so will Speed Sully improve? And then what will Wet Lemons do? It looks like Wet Lemons got closer to Speed Sully throughout the lap. Speed Sully does it at 34.7, Wet Lemons does it at 34.3, and that's good enough for pole at the minute, but Wheelnut is quick in sector 2.
Yeah, so we're on board with Wheelnut now. Thank you for talking us through the lap, and he's going around this long right-hander. Not sure how he's done throughout the rest of the lap, but on a flyer at the moment, and let's see if he can challenge Wet Lemons and Speed Sully up at the front there. Takes that corner quite nicely into the final corner. Is a little bit wide, but early on the power. DRS wide open. He comes across the line, and it's a 1:34.383. I was not expecting it to be that close, but he must be absolutely kicking himself that he hasn't managed to get a pole from that. As we go on board with Chris Johnson now, who will be, I believe, one of the final runners across the line.
Yeah.
And he seemed to have a bit of a moment there going through that long right-hander. As you say, the tyre's screaming as he goes through there, coming up to the final corner. Let's see if he takes this nicely. Yeah, clips that apex lovely out to the right-hand side and comes across the line. And he's fourth position in 1:34.9, a good lap time there from Chris Johnson. And last on track, I believe, Jack Craig comes across the line now.
He's validated.
He's validated, okay. But a fantastic end to the session there, yeah.
Yeah, good lap there by Chris Johnson, but I noticed that he ran out of deployment as well before he'd even got to the final corner, so usually I think that's a sign that he's actually perhaps running quite high wings, because he shouldn't really be running out at that stage. But anyway, to put him fourth on the grid, Lewis Craig there, look, he only set a lap on medium, so he must have been validated, I assume, when he put the soft tyres on.
An interesting one there, but we'll quickly run through the order there. So Wet Lemons taking pole position in front of Daniel P. Wheelnut, and Speed Sully taking on third place. Chris Johnson, a great lap there in fourth place with M. Shep in fifth. Lewis Craig in sixth, not as high as he expected to be. Magic Buchanan in seventh with Bazza in eighth, and Nell Jack in ninth, and Mike Dean rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Blair Grills, Jacko, Saya Sports, Mick Schumacher, Kaya, Jack Craig, and Mr. John rounding out your order. So, yeah, medium tyres there, as you say. Obviously, I don't think it's a rule now that you have to start on the tyre that you qualified on. I'm not sure if it's still the case for this game, but an interesting change. And I'm wondering if there's going to be different strategies up and down the pit lane, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis Craig definitely put soft tyres on. I just had a quick check there. So he had put softs on, but I assume he must have just invalidated both of the laps. And we couldn't get a lap in on the soft tyre. So we got the championship leader starting down in sixth place here. He's 30 points ahead of Wet Lemons in second place in the championship. But of course, Wet Lemons is on pole here. So a great opportunity for Wet Lemons to close the gap in this race. But certainly looks like it's going to be dry. And as you say, we'll see what happens with the strategy. And hopefully we'll get a mixture of drivers starting on softs and drivers starting on the mediums.
Indeed, and it looks like Daniel P. Wheelnut, judging by this image, is going to start on the softs, so getting the advantage off the line for him, hopefully there. Lewis Craig has won 3 out of the 4 races so far this season, as we've got 3, 4, 5 lights illuminated, and it's lights out and away they go, and they've got the predicted pit stop strategy up there. Unfortunately, really annoying there, but it's a great start from Wet Lemons. Daniel P. Wheelnut seems to have bogged down a bit. We've got Chris Johnson up the inside. He's going to go for a move. The wheels bang as Daniel P. Wheelnut is driven right out onto those sausage curbs annoyingly for him, and it seems to be getting a bit more spicy towards the back as Speed Sully is now taking a place of Daniel P. Wheelnut, and it's not a great start for him, Dan.
Yeah, he got massively swamped by everyone, didn't he? He's actually on the mediums, Wheelnut, and everybody else is on the soft tyres, and that may explain why he got absolutely pounced upon, and he's gone straight down to fifth place. But it was a brilliant start by Wet Lemons, wasn't it? He's already got a second lead right now. It's pretty comfortable. Speed Sully a bit wide there, and Wheelnut fancied to go, but had to actually back out of it. So we're actually quite clean, but it's that Chef going for a move on Wheelnut now as well for fifth place. So Wheelnut down to 6th, a disastrous start for him.
Indeed, as we've got some more action happening towards the back here, as Bazza is right on the back here of Neljak as they're drag racing right down this back straight. And look at the cars coming up here in massive bunches. There's going to be 3 wide. Bazza up the inside, makes a fantastic move on the medium runners there, taking advantage of those soft tyre runners. But then we've got Magic Buchanan coming right back at him. Got to be careful not to make contact here as it gets very tight coming into this tight technical section. But the closest battle on track at the moment is this position for 7th place, Dan.
Oh, we've got Lewis Craig quite close to Chris Johnson as well for second place. He was close down the back straight but couldn't get past Chris Johnson then and Lewis Craig both had excellent starts to this race. But Wet Lemons, look at that, 1.6 second lead at the end of the first lap. Lewis Craig nearly losing it there on the exit of the final corner, but he hasn't lost a huge amount of time. Looks like Mike Moon has spun, and Blake Grills as well at the penultimate corner. The rugby came together there, but Lewis Craig continuing to close in on Chris Johnson, and 78% DRS for Lewis Craig. Chris Johnson also on, well, 79, so pretty much similar. But this is great for Lewis Craig, considering he must know how quick Wet Lemons is around here. And he just has to, if he can at least get second, I think he'll be very happy with that. He's finished third. He finished first in the first 3 races of the season, second in the 4th race. And right now, look at this, he's all over the back of Chris Johnson.
Indeed, as we've been swapping between M. Shep's battle and Lewis Craig's battle, but we're going to stick with Lewis Craig's battle here for second place, as he is right on the back of Chris Johnson. He's going to get a great slipstream down this main straight here. I don't know what the battery levels are at the moment for the two, but yeah, it looks like he's changing gear for him at the moment. He goes up the inside. Looks like he's probably, I don't know, it's very close. And they have some bit of contact there, but it looks a bit there like either Chris Johnson used some battery or Lewis Craig is running higher wing there, Dan.
No, I think they were both off the battery. They were both pretty much maxing out 187 miles per hour. So I wonder if they might potentially run an identical setup, perhaps. But Lewis Craig eventually got the move done once the corner arrived, and he's up into second place now, and we'll see. Obviously, we didn't really see a representative lap from him. He spun at the penultimate corner! The championship leader is losing a ton of positions.
That is unfortunate, and his tyres are going to be absolutely smoking hot now as he's trying to recover from that spin, and he's got a lot of work to do to work his way back up there. As Chris Johnson and Speed Sully are now actually swapping places up at the first corner. Speed Sully up the inside of Chris Johnson, but Chris Johnson looks like he's got a good run out, and M-Shep right in the middle, right in there as well, trying to go around the outside. Doesn't look like it's going to do, but Speed Sully, a great move there. Chris Johnson looks like he's under pressure here, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely, and he just seen Lewis Craig spin right in front of him and thought, okay, getting back in second, but Speed Sully was right there and immediately pounced, but DRS will be enabled this lap.
Another spin for Lewis Craig as he come out of what looks to be the first corner and just probably tyres way too hot. As you say, DRS enabled, but that's going to be no help for Speed Sully. 4.1 seconds behind the leader now. Wet Lemons well and truly checking out in at the lead there. But M-Shep coming up, rounds up the inside of Chris Johnson here. Looks like he's got the deal done. But Speed Sully's going to have to be careful as well, as they both got DRS behind him. What did you see there, Dan?
It was just a brilliant move there by M-Shep, but he got really close to Chris Johnson. They were basically touching each other's wheels as they were going down the back straight there. But M-Shep into an excellent third place, but he does have a penalty for corner cutting though, so that will be 3 seconds added on, of course, at the end of the race. But we'll see what he can do still in this race. He's gone a little bit wide again there. That'll be another warning, I imagine. You don't want to get any more because he does not want that penalty to increase further. But I wonder if he's going to fancy having a go here on Speed Sully. He's going to have the DRS, but I don't think he's going to be able to get close enough unless he sends one into turn 1, which would be a bit silly, and no, he does not do that. So Speed Sully continue in second place then, although M-Shep has got a decent exit here perhaps. It's very, very close. M-Shep got some serious pace around here, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has indeed. I was trying to see if there was anything going
Sully
on there.
Penalty now.
And Speed Sully 3-second time penalty. But hard to see where the close battles are up and down the field there. As we can see, Magic Poop Cannon 2.5 tenths behind Bazza, almost pushing him along the track as well. So 2 good battles to keep track of here. But we're going to go back to the battle between Speed Sully, M-Shep and Chris Johnson. Higher up the field, as it looks like they've all got a decent run out here, and Speed Sully is going to have to either use some battery or accept that he's going to lose the place here, because M-Shep has well and truly lined the ball. We're going to go on board, goes down the left-hand side, up the inside, last of the late breakers, and he seems to have got the job done so far, but Speed Sully switching back now. Doesn't look like he's got the pace, and looks like he's just accepted his fate there. But Chris Johnson will be ready to pounce at any given moment. We've got a change of positions there between Neljak and Bazza up the inside in this tight technical section. Oh, that's going to be a close one. The medium runner seems to have the pace at the moment, with Magic Poop Cannon just ahead. But far from over this race, Dan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I'm just wondering if you're going to see any pit stops. No, no pit stops just yet. Then, so they all go again. Top four on soft tyres. And did Chef have a bit of a wobble there at the final corner? He was way on the inside near the pit wall, but perhaps he was just trying to break any sort of toe that Speed Sully could have got down into this first corner, or up into this first corner, I suppose I should say. But we have got Basil in the pit lane. He's on the soft tyres, about to put the medium tyres on. So that's the first. I think that's the first legitimate strategic pit stop that we've seen in this race. Wheelnut all over the place around the S's. Just lost a ton of time there, but we're starting to gain on these guys now. Of course, he had that terrible start on the medium tyres, but once these guys all pit, he's going to have a lot of clean air ahead of him to push on those mediums.
Yeah, a sacrifice you have to make at the start of the race. If you're going to start on the mediums, you've got to bring them up to temperature much longer than those soft tyres. So as he's lined up right behind Chris Johnson here, 3/10 behind, both have DRS, but it looks like Daniel P. Wheelnut is using a bit more battery maybe, or has a lower downforce setup. It goes up the inside, and looks like he's got the move done. Chris Johnson's going to try and switch back here, has the better drive off the corner, but just doesn't have his nose far enough ahead in order to really challenge Daniel P. Wheelnut there. So done deal there for Daniel P. Wheelnut. We're going to switch down to Nell. No, we're not going to switch down to Neljak. Sorry, we're going to stick with the battle for second here, as this doesn't look far from over. Speed Sully's still within that DRS section there with MShep, but doesn't look like he seems to be challenging him as much as actually Speed Sully dives into the pit lane. I wonder if this will be a good strategic undercut for him around Circuit of the Americas, and quite a few other drivers also pitting as well.
Yeah, Chris Johnson also in, and the race leader, Wet Lemons, also in as well, but he's got such a huge lead in this race that I think he could pit whenever, really. But we'll see what happens with Speed Sully and Chris Johnson specifically, because they are the ones involved in this battle, of course, with MShep, and Wheelnut is beginning to get himself involved on the medium tyres. Now, these guys will want to avoid any sort of traffic. Wet Lemons has come out just ahead of Jacko, and Jacko is actually going to try and get the position back. Wet Lemons obviously needs to get his tyres up to temperature. And Wet Lemons, well, he did have a 4-second lead, so even if he does have to stay behind Jacko, I can't imagine it's going to damage him too much in this race, as Speed Sully comes out in 10th place. Bazet has actually jumped Chris Johnson.
Well, there you go. It looks like that early pit stop for Bazet has paid dividends, and the undercut has worked for him, so undercut going to be powerful here, but I wonder if that's going to hinder him to come to the end of the race with the tyre wear, as Magic Poop Cannon and Neljak swap positions. Neljak looking like he's got a huge amount of pace compared to Magic Poop Cannon coming up that straight. As we've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. Looks like somebody has spun maybe Mike Noon,
Mike Noon
on the back straight, but we're going to stick with this, as Magic Poop Cannon still on the back of Neljak, and then we've got Jack Craig also joining in. As Mike Noon has been disqualified from the session for driving the wrong way on the track. An interesting incident there, but yeah, we won't touch on that too much, as these drivers really quite close here in the battle for third. Magic Poop Cannon looks like he could really line this up if he uses enough battery and has the DRS coming along the back straight. So we're going to go on board with Magic Poop Cannon coming up here. Doesn't seem like he's got the pace at the moment, but hopefully he doesn't do something stupid with the dive bomb. Luckily not. So
we've got MShep here coming out the pit lane. Let's see where MShep comes out in relation to the likes of Speed Sully and Bazet and Chris Johnson. I think Chris Johnson might have had a moment, because he fell right back there, and he's just ahead. MShep, he's just kept the place, but of course those tyres will have to come up to temperature. And can Speed Sully pounce here? Is he brave enough to fancy a go here through the S's while Shep's getting his tyres up to temperature? I think it would be a bit too risky to do that, unless he fancies having a go here. No, and at the minute, MShep's going to keep the position, but Speed Sully is about to have some DRS, I imagine.
Yeah, biding his time there quite cleverly as he goes through that S section. Just has to stay within touching distance, and looks like he's saved some battery for this battle with MShep as well, looking at the dashboard. But he does go a bit wide going through that hairpin. That's going to compromise his exit. MShep, I'm sure, will be on the battery as well, but yeah, he's lining up. He's got the DRS wide open, using not using the battery by the looks of things, actually, but tries to go up the inside. It's a good move up the inside. MShep gives him some space, and he cuts up, and MShep does the switcheroo. He's going to be on the left-hand side there, but no, looks like Speed Sully has defended that well.
Nice move. Nice move there by Speed Sully and M Shep as well. Fair racing there between both of them. Of course, these guys have both got 3 second penalties, but so has Daniel P. Wheelnut. And Daniel P. Wheelnut pitting now. So that's quite early, isn't it, for the medium tyres? So that's an early stop for Wheelnut. He's going to come in. He's going to have to do obviously the rest of the race now on these soft tyres. Wheelnut, Speed Sully, and M Shep, who are all involved in that battle for seconds, all have 3 second penalties right now. So that will also play its part, I imagine. But let's see what happens then as Wheelnut comes out of the pit lane. There's Speed Sully is going to be ahead, and M Shep. In fact, M Shep's coming back here to Speed Sully. It's him when he touched. He touched. I don't know if they've got any damage, but it looked like there was some contact between them. Hopefully, they've both still got the front wings intact as Wheelnut comes out in 9th place, 2.2 seconds behind Speed Sully and M Shep, but he's on those soft tyres now.
Yeah, so it didn't look like any damage was caught there by M. Shep or Speed Sully. Daniel P. Wheelnut's pit stop strategy not working out, I'm sure, as he hoped. But as you say, he's on those soft tyres and will be ready to attack and really needs to utilise these next few laps in order to get the best out of them, in order to get that position above him. So, yeah, we're going to stick on board with M. Shep for the moment still, as this is still quite a close battle. Speed Sully now lining him up as he goes down the back straight. Doesn't look like he's using a huge amount of battery, and doesn't look like he'll necessarily get the move done here unless he's going to be able to be the latest of the late breakers. But yeah, he's going to stick behind. He's gone a bit wide there as he seems to have got into the dirty air of the Aston Martin in front of him. But Daniel P. Wheelnut 2.1 seconds behind, 2.2 seconds behind Speed Sully at the moment, and maybe not closing the gap as quickly as he hoped there, Dan.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, I'm quite surprised. Not really closing in as quick as I expected, but I suppose maybe you might have to nurse those tyres a little bit more as well, of course, because he pit so early. But they've got some more medium tyre runners coming in now as well. Poop Cannon and Sayer Sports both coming into the pit lane at this point of the race. As just having a look here to see if M. Shep is he's right behind Mr. John now, M. Shep. Obviously, Mr. John is yet to pit. M. Shep, is he getting a little bit held up here? Is this allowing Speed Sully to come back into the pit yet? And actually, Mr. John gets out of the way. Mr. John gets out of the way there for M. Shep, and Speed Sully's approaching. Oh, Speed Sully, he'll be saying, move, do the same thing, please. And he's still not moving out the way. And now he tries to move, but that wasn't the best place to do it, really. And actually, that's helped M. Shep massively.
I'm sure there was many expletives going through the radio there as Mr. John actually takes up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So maybe not getting out of the way in the correct spot, as Dan alluded to there, as Mick Schumacher also picks up another 3-second time penalty as well. I was actually on board with Jack Craig before. Seems to be closing up on Neljak here, not for the net lead necessarily, but something still brewing up at the front there. But generally across the rest of the field, except for Jack Craig has spun. Jack Craig has actually spun it coming out of that technical section, and that means that Wet Lemons is now going to have effectively an easy time getting past him, as I'm sure. But he's actually getting held up now. Obviously, this is for position, but Jack Craig gets out of the way in the end, and Wet Lemons looks like he is going to be absolutely controlling this race. From here on in, as Neiljack's also come into the pit.
Yeah, so Jack Craig was catching Neljak, wasn't he? But Neljak might be a bit happy with how that's played out. And of course, he'll be very happy with how that's played out now. He can pull away pass from Jack Craig a little bit after these guys both make their pit stops then. And of course, these guys will be on the soft tyres, so they should be flying for the rest of the race. And look at Neljak here with Bazin and Chris Johnson. It's going to be very, very close. He came out just ahead of them. Now, if Bazin can get ahead of Neljak, that will be very, very helpful, because as soon as Neljak gets those tyres up to temperature, he will be away and gone on those soft tyres. And it looks like Neljak is probably going to manage that. And Bazet cannot capitalise. I'm still puzzled by how Chris Johnson fell so far back. He must have made a mistake on the pit lane exit. That's all I can possibly imagine, because he dropped right off. And he gets another penalty, Chris Johnson, so that's 6 seconds now for him.
It is 6 seconds, and we were actually watching the gap dropping there between Speed Sully and Daniel P. Wheelnut. Daniel P. Wheelnut now within a second of Speed Sully, so those soft tyres now coming into their own with 4 laps to go. And Daniel P. Wheelnut really, really closing on Speed Sully here. Those soft tyres really giving him the grip and the confidence he needs in order to
Baz has
attack.
sent one. Baz has sent one at the exit of the long straight, and actually has made the move on Neljak. And to be fair, he didn't really run off the track. It looked pretty fair after like a legitimate move. Oh, but Neljak wants to get back. Neljak, of course, on those fresh soft tyres. You have to imagine he's going to get through eventually, but Chris Johnson almost getting involved there as well. But Neljak will not be happy at that. He got mugged there by Bazza into turn 10, I think it is, isn't it? But Neljak on those softs will want to place back, although struggling to get the car turned in there at the penultimate corner. And if he's not careful, Chris Johnson might end up getting him as well.
Yeah, Chris Johnson right on the back here of Neljak. Neljak right on the back of Bazza here. Neljak with the DRS wide open. He's closing. Will he stick it up the inside? Bazza goes to the inside. Neljak round the outside with those soft tyres. He's just got enough room. He's going round the outside. He's hit those sausage curbs. And, Bazza nearly cuts him off. Oh, my goodness! Bazza has spun. It didn't look like contact on my screen, but it could have been just from that camera angle that I had. But yeah, did you get a better angle of that?
Yeah, I was on board. I was on board with Neljak, and I mean, there might have been just that tiniest little nudge that just unsettled the car ahead, and maybe sent Bazza into a spin, or certainly helped them along the way, I suppose. But it was a great battle until that moment, and I wonder, possibly will that go to the stewards? But that's such a shame, really, because that was great racing that we were seeing there. We've got Wheelnut, as I say, now 6/10 now behind Speed Sully, continuing to close in for that third place.
Indeed, Daniel P. Wheelnut has started to slowly close the gap yet again within that second. He's around a half second going on to the back straight, and seems to be losing a bit of time here through this long S section. Maybe just trying to save those soft tyres.
He just nearly lost the car.
Yeah, the camera angle I've got here from the broadcast wasn't the best one to see that, but yeah, he's maybe just running a bit less rear wing, maybe a bit more front orientated, and that will cause him to have some brown trousers in that long right hand corner going through there. But yeah, he seems to have dropped back significantly since that. So we're going to go back to the battle between Neljak and Chris Johnson. Or actually, further down the field, we've got Jacko right on the back of Blair Grills. Here's Blair Grills spins! So that was an easy one for Jacko going through this section here. So we're going to go back to Neljak and Chris Johnson, as that seems to be the closest battle on track at the moment. But yeah, drivers seeming to have those tyre wear issues coming into the race now, Dan. Really, really struggling for grip, and they just need to be a bit more careful, don't they?
They do. Jack Craig and Sayer Sports doing battle here as well. Jack Craig just got past Joe Sayer. They're both on the soft tyres, but Joe Sayer will now, of course, have DRS. Wow, Jack Craig got one hell of an exit there. He just absolutely pulled away once the DRS zone, before they even reached the DRS zone, and Sayer Sports can't really catch up now. That was one. I don't know how he got that kind of exit out the corner there, Jack Craig, but that he did, and he maintains a 7th place for the time being. Wheelnut is really starting to fall back now, isn't he? On Speed Sully, he's not making any more progress. I wonder if he's maybe pushed those soft tyres a little bit too much, or like they sliding all over the place at the end of the lap again. So he's fallen further back.
Indeed, yeah, as maybe he pitted that just a little bit too early. He took a bit of a gamble to see if he could maybe get some kind of real advantage and then settle down towards the end, but really not working out for him at the moment. As we're on board with Sayer Sports at the moment on that front wing camera. It's a great camera angle, but yeah, just too far back at the moment to make a move on Jack Craig, and we're actually going to go down to Lewis Craig, who seems to have really caught up to Magic Boot Cannon, who has the DRS open. Lewis Craig moves up to the inside. Looks like he's going to make a clean move here as he goes, nicely clips that corner and up to 12th place. But we're going to go back with Chris Johnson now, who seems to be coming back at Neljak on those medium tyres. And yeah, we'll see how this one pans out.
Yeah, but don't forget that Neljak does not have a penalty. He's the only driver in the top 7 not to have a penalty. And Chris Johnson does, so he'd have to get the move done and then pull 3 seconds if he wants to stay ahead. But every position counts, I suppose, for Lewis Craig down in 12th place. Obviously, we're under the Jose points system. I think it's for the top 14, isn't it, in TGP2? So these positions are important for Lewis Craig. It is worth trying to make the positions up, although he himself also has a penalty. So right now, he would actually finish in 13th, not 12th. But we'll see if he can catch up to Jacko and Mr. John as well before the end of the race, as we're about to start the final lap. Wet Lemons has got a comfortable 6-second lead.
Indeed, as I mentioned, track limits is a hidden enemy here around the Circuit of the Americas, and you can see that by the penalties that the drivers have picked up throughout the race. But we're on board with Jacko here, on the back of Mr. John, 4/10 the gap, and he seems to be reeling him in on those soft tyres on the alternate strategy. Mr. John also on those soft tyres, but maybe not utilising them as much as he can, as Jacko really lining up the move here, gets a decent exit. DRS will be wide open now. He'll maybe be using a little bit of battery to catch up as Mr. John moves to the inside. But Jacko too far back at the moment. As Jacko spins, Jacko spun it. I don't know what happened there. Maybe got too much on the brakes and the rear just snapped, but that's unfortunate for Jacko, as he actually gets a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. That seems very unlucky for him to be getting that penalty, and maybe the stewards might be kind and let him go on that one. But we're going to switch back to Chris Johnson on the final lap. Can he get position on the track here? Not that it's going to be doing much for him on Neljak. Seems to be too far back at the moment. But we're actually now going to go on board with Wet Lemons as he comes around the final few corners to complete what has been an absolutely dominant race from start to finish for him. 6.1 seconds ahead of his fellow driver, M-Shep, to come across the line, take a victory weave, and he takes the win. A fantastic win for Wet Lemons there, as we now go on board with M-Shep. A good drive for him there. I'm not sure how the penalties are going to work out here. As Speed Sully comes across the line, he's going to take third place, with Daniel P. Wheelnut fourth place, trying everything he could to get that podium position, but not doing, as Neljak comes across the line with Chris Johnson right behind him, and Jack Craig also coming across the line in 7th place. Seiya Sports seems to have ghosted for some reason, but he'll come across the line in 8th. Baza coming across the line in 9th place there with Mr. John in 10th. Magic Poop Cannon taking 11th. Jacko in 12th. Unfortunate with that spin. Lewis Craig, I'd say a race to forget for him, coming across the line in 13th, but actually in 12th after penalties applied. And then Blair Grills and Kaya will be your final runners across the line. But a fantastic win there for Wet Lemons, and an absolutely dominant performance, Dan.
Yeah, and he will close right in the championship. Only owes 30 points, remember, was the gap going into this race. And let's just see who got the fastest lap. It was Jacko who actually got the fastest lap. So 30 points. Lewis Craig, I don't know if Jacko will get that 10-second penalty removed or not. If he does, then which I think he probably will, would you say? Because I saw that as well. And I suppose you can't really give a penalty for that, can you? Because he'd spun. But so it'll be, a 23-point game for Wet Lemons there. So it'll be 7 points behind going into the next race. And, Lewis Craig has finished so far this season first, second, 12th.
Yeah, so we were wondering if this streak of podiums and wins would come to an end, and it seems like it has, as Jack Craig gets the driver of the day. Lewis Craig may have had some confidence knocked out of him from this race, but we'll see if he can bounce back in Saudi to see if he can get another win or podium from there. But Wet Lemons is the man to be speaking about today, as he celebrates. An interesting celebration there for him as he goes up onto the podium. A fantastic first place for him, and a well-deserved win as well, as he takes the trophy with M-Shep alongside him and Speed Sully on the podium too. Alfa Romeo guys really happy with the performance as they spray the champagne. Well-deserved spraying of champagne as well. A dominant performance, and probably he'll be my driver of the USA, Dan.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. He led from start to finish, and it looked fairly comfortable for him, really, didn't it? He had an excellent start as well, didn't he? Off the line, it was the classic. I was going to say the classic Grand Slam, but he didn't get fastest lap, did he? Of course, Jacko got fastest lap.
Indeed, as well. Just quickly running you through the order. So Wet Lemons, as I said, taking that win with M. Shep in second and Speed Sully running out the podium. Daniel P. Wheeler trying everything he can to get to the podium, but ends up in fourth place with Nell Jack and Chris Johnson and Jack Craig there in seventh place. Saya Sports in eighth with Bazza in ninth and Magic Poop Cannon rounding out your top 10. Then we've got Mr. John, Lewis Craig, race to forget for him, Jacko, Blair Grills, Kaya, Mick Schumacher, in 16th, and then it actually says Mike Noon there rejoining in 17th to round out your order, DNFing alongside Mick Schumacher. So, yeah, a good race, a great race with some fantastic battles up and down the field, notably most of them at the front. And, looking forward to this next race in Saudi Arabia. Not expecting any rain considering the geography of the circuit, but still one to be very, very challenging for the drivers. Considering the street circuit nature of it and the high-speed nature of the circuit as well, Dan. It'll be one to look forward to, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, if we were to get rain here, it would be quite something, I imagine. But this is obviously such a difficult circuit, and you have to just be totally committed and believe in your car and your driving ability, really, that you can make some of these corners. And it's the braver you are, the quicker you'll go around this track, especially in three real key zones, I would say, which are super important to the lap, which we'll get into once the qualifying session gets underway. But and then of course once the race comes about, you can often see some really good battles with and some nice slipstream DRS use, of course. So hopefully, we're going to have another classic. And can Lewis Craig bounce back after that disappointment at COTA?
It'll be an interesting one, and it'll be a test of his mettle as to how he performs here in Saudi Arabia, if that really has knocked his confidence in COTA, or if it was just a speed bump in the road. But something important to note as well, I think the safety car was disabled by the stewards for Circuit of the Americas, and it will be disabled for Saudi Arabia as well.
Yeah.
And quite rightly as well, in my opinion, for Saudi Arabia, considering the current state of the game, unfortunately, just sending out the safety car at every given opportunity that it can, and just completely kills the racing. So we want to see good racing. We want to see good battles, not ruined by the safety car. So correct decisions from the stewards there, Dan.
Yeah, totally agree. Just looking at the comment, just noticed that Chris Johnson has said that he actually had damage from turn 1 contact, so he actually changed his wing at the pit stop. So I think that explains why he dropped so far back after the pit stop.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. And drivers here now setting up for what will be a challenging qualifying session for them to try and get the most out of the car, try and avoid invalidating their lap as well through that first S section mainly, as that's one that definitely catches the drivers out, and certainly caught me out yesterday in TGP1 as well, trying to get my lap times down. But we are going to see some action in the pit lane at any given moment now as the drivers are coming out of the pit lane. We've got the AlphaTauri leading there. How important is it for the drivers to get some decent heat into the tyres around a circuit like this, and not try and take too much wear away, Dan?
Yeah, you have to obviously make sure you have the tyres warmed up, but it can also be very, very, very easy to overheat the tyres around here. So you don't, really, for tyre pressures around here, they basically just need to be the very lowest that they possibly can be. And anybody who's maybe takes a time trial setup, maybe it doesn't change the tyre pressures and keeps them on quite high, is going to spin, guaranteed, in this race. But you have to be super, super careful with that, and really you can only really do one quick lap, I suppose, around here, because after you've done one flying lap, the tyres will just be, if you're trying to go again, it's not going to end well, I imagine. But we've got some drivers coming out the pit lane now, obviously, drivers on out laps, and we'll see maybe if, I wonder if possibly any teammates might fancy running close together here and possibly get a bit of a slipstream at some point throughout the lap.
Be an interesting tactic, as we actually saw in the first section there, Kaya actually clipped his front wing coming through. I think it was turn 4. So his lap will be ruined and he'll be diving straight back into the pit lane. But going to go on board with Wet Lemons to follow him on a lap here. Dan, I'm going to ask again if you can do the honours to give us a guide through this Corniche circuit on board with Wet Lemons.
Okay then, so let's see what entry it takes at the start of the lap here, because you can gain a bit of time if you can run a little bit. There we go. Run wide on the entry at the final corner there, and then blast out and get a good exit to start your lap as quick as possible. Hopefully it didn't extend too much there, otherwise it'll be a chat. Yeah, it's okay, it's fine, it's legit. And he's away then, so Wet Lemons gets on the way then. First corner, probably one of the easiest corners on the entire track really. He's gone a little bit wide through there, but that should be alright now. He's got this third corner again, pretty simple, but then this is the first real challenging part of the track. How much throttle can you take around here? How much throttle do you dare to take around this slalom section? Look at him weaving his way through the corners. This is nice and tidy. You don't want a traffic extend here unless you get a corner cut. That's nice stuff by Wet Lemons. Now get ready for this left-hander. Swoops around turn 13. That car gets out the way. Good stuff there. And see how early he gets on the throttle to pick it back up and get going again. Now you're coming up to the second part of the lap, which is a bit dangerous, bit scary, bit risky. Sends it in there, turn 16. Oh, he's clipped the wall. And does he have damage? I imagine he probably does. We'll see if he completes the lap though, as he gets ready now for the third super risky part of the lap. This is the most terrifying one of all. Turn 22, I think it is, or 23. He's took that very nicely, considering he probably has damage as well. He actually got through there quite nice. And took a nice amount of curb as well. Now he's getting ready for this final corner. Build up all the speed. Brake a lot later than what it actually looks. You can brake a lot later than what it seems. And he gets through there. About to enable the DRS once again. And will he take the shortest run to the line yet? Just cross that right line slightly. And it's a 1:30.101 for Wet Lemons. But I'm interested to see. No, it doesn't look like he actually got front wing damage from that tap. I did that yesterday in my last qualifying lap and got damage. Got some minor front wing damage, but it looks as though, unless it's just not visible to us, it looks as though he got away with that.
Yeah, it looked like he actually banged the wheel up against that wall, because he actually did it as well coming into the final corner on the outside there, trying to get as much track width as he could. But a good lap there. But Speed Sully has gone into the 129s here with a 129.903. So he's laying down the gauntlet for the drivers here with 13 minutes still left in the session to go. Looks like there's some drivers possibly doing some banker laps here, 131s, 132s, making sure to get a valid lap in, and then being able to push later, maybe with a bit less fuel on board, as well as the track extension and the track limit is a real issue in qualifying here. So,
talking of track extending, and look at Lewis Craig has just come in the pit lane because he invalidated his lap. So the pressure is really starting to build on Lewis Craig, isn't it? After such a good start to the season, all of a sudden, not going well for him tonight.
No, not at all. But we're actually on board with Neljak, experiencing some really bad traffic coming into that final section. So hopefully that is not going to be too much of an issue for him for his lap. As he comes across the line now, takes up to 4th place. I do wonder if some of that traffic got in his way and he did lose some time there. But yeah, Lewis Craig, hopefully it hasn't rattled him too much and he just needs to get back into that pace to be able to bring him back up. But yeah, not a great start for him here in Saudi, Dan.
Of course, he's not the only one really, though, because I mean, look at this now. We're what are we 6 minutes into the session, and we've only got 7 laps on the board. So, and these guys have all been out on track as well. So there must have been quite a bit of corner cutting, you would imagine, and track extending going on to only have that number of laps on the board. Although, of course, he's still got 11.5 minutes to go. I wonder if we'll see a situation like yesterday in TGP1 in the closing stages where we had basically a train of cars all leave the pit lane at the exact same time, and which caused a bit of chaos at the end of the session.
It did, and I was part of that train, and it was a case of just trying to make sure that all the drivers were going, but also having drivers on their laps coming up as well. And yeah, it was very sketchy indeed as we watched Kaya there almost lose it,
Did he
crashing
spin
into.
there? Because yeah, because I was on my camera angle was dead dodgy. Did he? It looks like he saved it.
Yeah, he managed to save it by the looks of things. I had the dodgy camera angle as well, but almost did a Schumacher going into that wall. So he's lucky not to bin it and be out of the session at this point. But yeah, Neljak looks like he's trying to complete. Oh, he's coming into the pit lane. Apologies. But Daniel P. Wheelnut also coming into the pit lane as well. So he will be looking to change his tyres as Lewis Craig winding up now to start a lap. And we're going to go on board with Lewis Craig for this one and see what he can do, see if he can challenge for the front row.
Yeah, so this is an important lap then, isn't it, for Lewis Craig? Speed Sully on pole at the minute. Wet Lemons in second place, of course. He's just seen Wet Lemons close in the title gap to him after that previous race, and that's not a great place for that Aston Martin there to appear. Hopefully the Aston Martin will move out the way. You don't want to be behind the car going around this section of the track, and well, maybe could have done with moving out the way a couple of corners earlier there, but hopefully it hasn't affected Lewis Craig too much. Nice through there, took a lot of curb and will have found a lot of time through there. It's a 33.2 first sector, and that other car gets out the way through turn 13, so that's good stuff. Speed Sully's first sector was also a 33.2, so it's pretty much identical at the minute. Let's see if Lewis Craig can go to the top of the time sheets.
Yeah, so Lewis Craig nicely threaded through there, really close to the wall as he's coming up to this second DRS section of the track. And yeah, as you say, coming up to the really scary part here, he's going to get nice and right and nearly touch the wall, nicely over to the left-hand side and take some good curb and really, really pushing the walls here as the DRS is wide open again. Really trying to get as wide as possible, trying to get the maximum speed he can out of this lap, and he's going right over to the right-hand side again, nicely over to the left, nearly touched the wall again, really, really pushing on this. So DRS wide open, he's going to take the shortest route up to the line. Where's it going to come out? It's second place, a 129.930, 300ths of a second behind Speed Sully, who has just started his lap as well. So really, really close at the front here. And we're going to go on board with Speed Sully for this. He looks like he's really, really pushing it as well. What's this first sector going to be? It's 2.5 tenths up already. So a really, really good lap for him so far, Dan.
Yeah, that's a fantastic improvement, isn't it, that for the first sector, but we'll see if he can maintain it for the rest of the lap. Wet Lemons is also a bit further round on the lap. He's nearly 4 tenths up on his previous lap as well, so Wet Lemons, I imagine he's about to improve significantly here as well, and if he doesn't make a mistake at this final corner, he'll probably go pole. That's very, very wide, that, by Wet Lemons. He will have lost time there for sure, and we'll want to improve on that when he sets his next lap. But is this enough for Wet Lemons? Well, he has improved his lap time, but he stays in third place. I think he lost all that time at the final corner there. Here comes Speed Sully then. He's about to go through that final corner. Will he do a Wet Lemons, or will it be much more tighter through the corner as Lewis Craig was? About even, you would say. Speed Sully will open the DRS then to cross the line. Will it be an improvement? Yes, it is, by 10.5.
It's a good lap there from Speed Sully, really utilising the track and really putting some good pace down. Wet Lemons will be kicking himself because he was doing really well up until that final corner where he just made that mistake, but he's only 700ths of a second behind Wet Lemons, so all to still play for. Can't see how long is left in the section here because 7 minutes, sorry, that sector 3 yellow flag was all over the time there, so I do apologise, but yeah, it looks like at the moment now got an invalidation there from Wet Lemons, and other drivers will be starting to come into the pits to maybe go for their second attempt, but even maybe their final attempt in this session, Dan.
Yeah, it's we'll see. I mean, it's a pretty long lap, isn't it, Randy? You have to be really careful as well with traffic. I think you're probably only going to get one more lap in at this race. And look at Dan Morris just joining us, and he'll get a lap in. but I'm not sure how much practice he will have had. But he should get a lap in just before the end of this session. And it looks like Speed Sully might actually be out of fuel yet. So he's going to have to just slow it down there as he comes into the pit lane. But he's going to have more than enough time to get prepared for his final run.
And maybe something that's giving him the advantage then, really pushing the lack of fuel in the car to get as much lap time as he can. So maybe Lewis Craig and Wet Lemons might have something more in the locker with a bit less fuel on board, but that'll soon be something that will be apparent to us as Chris Johnson coming around the last few corners, of his lap. Not sure how he's done.
He's not on a lap.
Oh, he's not on a lap. Okay, fair enough. But Neljak looks like he's got a fast first sector there, purple first sector. So Neljak on a good lap here at the moment. Going to go on board with him. Coming through this quite windy section here, doesn't go very close to the wall. So maybe there's some lap time still on the table for him. Maybe that line works for him better as he comes up to that second DRS zone. DRS wide open now as he's coming up to the scary part of the lap here. And goes nicely close to the wall on both entry there and exit. Coming up to this third DRS zone and really just trying to get the maximum out of the car. And will he go nice and wide out to the right-hand side? He does. Will he be close to the wall here? He's left a bit on the table there. Could have been closer, but now full throttle. DRS will be wide open. Shortest route to the line. What will his lap time be here? And he's improved to 7th of the 1:30.393. So will he get round in time to get another attempt in? Hopefully.
Ooh, that's a good question, isn't it? 4.5 minutes to go. He's hopefully, if his pit crew don't take too long, hopefully he'll be able to quickly change the tyres maybe, and he might just get back out in time. But of course, he's going to have to be wary for traffic, of course, with the driver setting laps and everything towards the end of the lap. Is Poop Cannon starting a lap here? I think he is.
I think he's just completed one. 1:30.1 takes him up to 4th place.
No, I think that was already there. That lap, okay. I think he's on a lap here. Let's just see if his light's flashing at the rear of the car. No, it isn't. I think Poop Cannon is pushing here, although he's had a bit of a wobble through there, and he might not be pushing for much longer. Oh, he's hit the wall as well, and I don't think this lap is going to come off for Poop Cannon. We'll have a look. First sector, well, he's actually slightly improved, so maybe this lap will come off for him, and he better hope it does, pretty much, really, because there's only 3.5 minutes to go, and he definitely will not be getting back in to get another lap.
No, he won't. We've also got Lewis Craig starting a lap, going through the first sector as well. Don't know what his first sector time is yet, but we'll keep a close eye on that one as Magic Poop Cannon, coming round. A bit of a scruffy lap for him here. We also have Daniel P. Wheelnut starting a lap, and we have Wet Lemons and Speed Sully. Speed Sully actually started a lap, and Wet Lemons on his out lap. So all starting to unfold now for their final attempts around the circuit with just over 2.5 minutes to go. As Jacko takes a surprise pole position so far at the moment with a 1:29.6, really putting his hat in the ring now. And it'll be an interesting one as Lewis Craig's actually gone a 10th up in the first sector. So coming up to the end of the second sector now, we'll see what this is going to be. Another, a 10th and a half up again. Not sure if that'll be enough
Mike
to
Noon! What? Mike Noon in second place all of a sudden. Jacko and Mike Noon, who've struggled this season, where's this pace suddenly come from?
Interesting one, but Lewis Craig round the final corner, doesn't get as tight to the wall as he did beforehand. DRS wide open. What's this going to be? He's taken pole. It's a 1:29.5. It's a great lap there from Lewis Craig. But we've also got Speed Sully on a lap as well. We've
got Speed Sully and both Wet Lemons on a lap here. So this is crucial. This is crucial now. Speed Sully, let's see. What's his second sector time going to be? What's the improvement going to be? He's on a 29.7. He only needs to improve by 2 and a bit tenths to put it on pole. and he's 2,000 down. So and he's way
Oh,
wide. That's it. Game over. Game over for Speed Sully. He's not going to start any higher than fifth. Wheelnut's going into third. I think this is all on Wet Lemons now. And Wet Lemons have got a Haas right in front of him. Hopefully that Haas will get out the way. And he's 2 tenths up in the first sector, Wet Lemons. So this is for pole now. This is for pole position. He's put on the power too early. Game over for him as well. Wet
yeah,
Lemons could start down at 7th.
yeah. Unless he can somehow pull something out of the bag here to get onto the second row. I don't see him taking pole position at the moment, but that Red Bull gets out of the way for him. We're going to stay on board and see what his sector 2 time is and how much that's actually affected him as he comes up. And he's 3.5 tenths down, so he's going to have to pull something magic out of the bag here in the final sector in order to try and improve. But yeah, it looks like Wet Lemons' qualifying is over. Who else is currently on a lap at the moment? Chris Johnson, I believe, is maybe coming in on an out lap, maybe starting a new lap. So we'll see where he finishes up in the end. Speed Sully in the pit lane. Daniel P. Wheelnut, his quali's over. Jacko's on fuel.
The top 5 are definitely not on laps. I think it's fair to say the top 5 are definitely not on laps. I'm just seeing if Poop Cannon, what's his first sector going to be? Poop Cannon. Oh, he's a tenth and a bit down. Maybe Poop Cannon is going for one more lap. Wet Lemons, it's going to be interesting to see if he's actually got the fuel. He's not really got much ERS though, has he, to go again? He's only got 30% starting the lap, so he's not going to, it's going to be difficult to improve from that position.
Indeed, as we've gone past quite a big accident there, but seems the stewards are still allowing this to go as, he's second down. I don't think he's going to be improving at all here. So that's Wet Lemons' qualifying over. Say Sports just completed the lap there. We have Baza coming up to the line, and he goes in 13th place, 1.2 seconds up on his previous, so that'll be a good improvement for him. We're going on board with Chris Johnson coming through the second sector. And he is just 100th. It's still. It says it's still on.
Yeah, it is still on, but surely he hasn't found time there. Surely not. I mean, unless he's just exploited something incredible, just discovered an incredible new line. We're about to see around this final corner. Imagine he might have just still got a pole, everybody. But I don't think he will do that. Will he improve though? Oh, he nearly did.
Nearly improved.
Stays in 8th.
But that's our qualifying session over. Jacko's still trying to get back to the pits with that low fuel, and he's going to take the flag, but it's not going to be an improvement for him. As an interesting qualifying session there, we do see Lewis Craig back up at the top there, where he likes to be. I believe that's his second pole position of the season. It's an interesting one there with Jacko and Daniel P. Wheelnut really playing the team game there, up in second and third place there, Dan.
Yeah, it's a totally jumbled up grid, isn't it? You got with Jacko in second there, Mike Newman in fourth. I can't believe Mike Newman seems to spin quite often on this game, but somehow in Saudi Arabia of all places, he's absolutely flying. So fair play. But we'll see what he can do in the race.
Indeed, and this team game that the Mercedes drivers are going to play really will help them, I think, especially around this circuit, which is just, it's all about the slipstream and making sure that you keep it out of the walls. So we're going to quickly run through the order here. So Lewis Craig up there in pole position with Jacko and Daniel P. Wheelnut, 2 Mercedes boys taking on the podium with Mike Newman in fourth. A great lap for him, and Speed Sully in fifth, hoping that he could have done a little bit more. Magic Poop Cannon in sixth, good lap with Wet Lemons in seventh, hoping for a bit more. Dan Morris, our rookie for the year, in eighth, with Chris Johnson in ninth, and Nell Jack rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Blair Grills, Jack Craig, Saya Sports, M. Shep, Vaza, Mick Schumacher, Kaya, and Mr. John rounding out your order for Saudi Arabia qualifying. Another question that we kind of have again. Strategy, what is the good strategy here? I think a lot of the top 10 yesterday were all on soft tyres for the start. But do you envision anybody using the medium tyres here, Dan?
I think me, the Confessor and Roy were all on mediums.
Right, okay.
The rest were on soft, so I don't know. We'll see. I misjudged really. I took a bit of a risk around here yesterday and picked quite early on the medium tyres, and was on the softs quite a long time and actually had a bit of a spin as well. It's a bit cloudy, doesn't it, all of a sudden there?
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's surprisingly cloudy.
we believe it's not going to rain.
No, normally a very clear night in Saudi when we do have this race, but yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see which tyres the drivers do start on, especially considering how important it is to get as much of a gap as you can right at the start, as it is DRS heaven round here. But drivers making their final preparations on the grid, and yeah, we're on the grid now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights illuminated. And it's lights out and away they go. And we've got a good start there from Lewis Craig. Jacko getting bogged down a bit, but Daniel P. Wheelnut making a bit of an advantage there as they go up the inside. And Daniel P. Wheelnut taking it from his... as we've got some action towards the back there.
Speed Sully got massively hit.
Oh dear, I missed that one, but yeah, other than that, it looked all relatively clean. And Daniel P. Wheelnut really making up a very important place to be able to challenge Lewis Craig there, Dan.
Yeah, Mike Newton's also slipped down a load of positions as well. That's such a shame for him. He's down in 11th right now. Looks like Baz has just had a spin. Wet Lemons is going for Jacko for 3rd place here. This is crucial possibly for the championship. You want to make a safety touch into turn 13, and Jacko might not be too happy with that. Wet Lemons very aggressive there, but he wants to get up and make positions. He's made up 4 positions. He's up to 3rd place.
It's a great opportunistic move there for Wet Lemons, as he'll be wanting to make up the places that he did lose there, as we actually have Dan Morris right on the back of Jacko now. Jacko really dropping back for some reason at the moment. Maybe he's got a little bit of damage from that move Wet Lemons has made on him, but Dan Morris on the medium tyres and seems to be attacking a soft tyre runner.
Yeah, Wheelnut as well in 2nd place is also on the medium tyres, but it is Dan Morris going to close in here and possibly have a go. Jacko is starting to gain, it looks like, back again on Wet Lemons. I don't think Jacko will be very happy about that move by Wet Lemons, but really interested to have another look at what happened with that start with Speed Sully, and he was just facing sideways, really, just being turned around into the corner. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but disaster for both Speed Sully and Mike Newton. Now, in fact, Mike Newton...
As Jack Craig goes up the inside, sorry to interrupt there, and Magic Poop Cannons had to take the escape route. 3-second time penalty there for corner cutting as he had to avoid the accident, but that was a very close one, and there's a bit of weaving going on as well.
I thought he was moving to give the position back, but it looked like he was actually moving because he was a little bit angry there. It looked like possibly with Jack Craig, but anyway, Jack Craig back through now. Nell Jack also managed to sneak through there as well, but Magic Poop Cannons seemingly not too happy about what just happened, but so Mike Newton is picked, so that's such a shame. He had such good pace, and sadly now he is at the very back of the field.
He is, but Dan Morris all over the back here of Jacko. He was just about 10th going into that long left-hander at the bottom of the circuit, so really in a good position here for when DRS is enabled for the drivers, as we do have some places being traded here between Mr. John and Blair Grills round this not so conventional area to be overtaking. It has to be said. And
Lewis Craig, what's happened to Lewis Craig? As he's spun at turn 22, he's got no front wing.
He's
the championship leader has got no front wing.
What a shame for him, and it seems like he hasn't been able to shake that race from Kota. He's made another key mistake that has dropped him down the order. He's going to have to pit now and go on to probably the medium or the hard tyres in order to keep his race alive. And Daniel P. Wheelnut takes the lead of the race. Wet Lemons on the back of him. He's being challenged by Jacko. Jacko up the inside. DRS is enabled. And he's made a fantastic move there for the Mercedes boys to take 1 and 2 in the race.
Jacko getting a bit of revenge there from Wet Lemons' move at the lap 1 then. So Wet Lemons gets overtaken by Jacko, but it is actually a net win here for Wet Lemons because, of course, Lewis Craig is now down in 16th. Jacko losing it in the middle of the corner there. Wow.
Oh, my goodness. And Jacko's round his contact from Wet Lemons. And they've tangled, and Wet Lemons has been the loser there. Jacko hopefully hasn't got any damage, but I don't know why he was trying to put it up the inside there. Obviously saw that Jacko was really struggling and thought he could make the move, but
look at Chris Johnson just sneaking through there on Dan Morris, and suddenly Chris Johnson and Dan Morris are right in this race. Wet Lemons and Dan Morris are going to go side by side in turn 16. Oh, they touched again.
Dan Morris has had to take the escape there. Hopefully he's not going to lose too much time and have a penalty, but yeah, this is getting spicy.
Incredible.
As well as in this corner. Oh my goodness, it's weaving left, right and centre. It's 3 wide going into this corner. I don't like the look of this. but Wet Lemons are up around the outside. He's going to go around the outside of Dan Morris. He's actually hit the wall, and he's coming out of this contact, and Dan Morris has lost part of his front wing as Jack Craig now taking the opportunity here. He's lost part of his front wing as well, and seems to be that they're batching and barging like this is touring cars, Dan.
It's all gone a bit wacky races, hasn't it? It's incredible stuff. But Chris Johnson, meanwhile, is about to go for second place here, side by side with Jacko, and then I don't know who's going to end up in fourth place. It looks like Jack Craig is going to end up in fourth place. Is Jacko going to maintain second? Yes, he does. And further back, Dan Morris, Neljak now starting to get involved as well. It's all happening.
It is all happening. We're going to go back with Chris Johnson here because he is right on the back, and I wonder if he's going to try and make an opportunistic move around this section. We've got Neljak right on the back of Dan Morris as well. Anything could happen. It's hard to track who's actually the one to really stick with here, as Mike Noon gets the fastest lap of the race after pitting after that damage. But yeah, getting spicy, bit wacky races. Some great. And Neljak's actually made a move on Dan Morris and got ahead, or is Dan Morris trying to make a move on Neljak? I couldn't quite tell.
Dan Morris, I think he's lagging, isn't he?
Yeah, he's lagging. I thought he had a problem there, but yeah, Dan Morris seems to be dropping back.
Oh, Jack Craig! Oh, he's hit the wall at turn 17 there at the exit. Just lost the car slightly, and he's lost the position also now to Dan Morris, down in 7th, and he might get overtaken by Poupcan as well if Poupcan can get a run on him. But the positions are absolutely swapping about like crazy here. Jack Craig, I'd be amazed if he didn't get damaged there. And it runs
he's got more damage. He's lost another end plate on the other side, and you can really see that as he's going through those corners, as Magic Poop can easily taking the place from him. But yeah, we're going to go back to Chris Johnson here, who's right on the back of Jacko. Going to make another attempt here. It looks to be much closer with DRS wide open. He's going right up the inside as actually Jacko makes his pit stop. So Chris Johnson...
Oh, he's got a penalty! Jacko's got a penalty for speed, and now John did something very similar yesterday. So for very similar pit entry, if you cut the chicane, you get a penalty. But John got his removed, so I assume Jacko will also get his removed. So that might not actually count for Jacko, I assume. But we'll see as the race progresses and with post-race penalties at the end. But Jacko coming out just ahead of Wet Lemons here then. What a frantic race. They said, look at Wet Lemons immediately wanted to make an impact. They get straight past Jacko on the pit exit. So these guys have come together 3 times in this race now already.
Indeed, Wet Lemons getting a bit out of shape there after he made the move, and Jacko seems to have a bit of a moment through the middle of these S's as well. So drivers need to be careful and not lose a front wing, because you see how detrimental it can be to your race, as Bazza is right on the back here of Mick Schumacher as well. We've had a few places traded between Magic Poupcan and Mr. John as well. So yeah, still lots going on in this race. And
meanwhile, Wheelnut is just casually leading the way. It was 6 seconds ahead, way ahead. And that was even after with pit stops as well with Jacko. He's 5.5 seconds ahead. So Wheelnut is just pulled away from all this carnage.
Indeed, and he's in a commanding position after taking advantage of Lewis Craig, unfortunately messing up his race to a mistake. As Lewis Craig actually does get past his teammate, Mr. John. We've got Neljak in the pits now, and Bazza and Mick Schumacher, the closest battle on track at the moment, Dan.
Yeah, so let's see where's Neljak going to come out the pit lane then in relation to Wet Lemons and Jacko. And Jacko's coming back in the pit lane here. So Jacko is coming back in the pit lane. So did Jacko... Wet Lemons did pounce immediately on Jacko, didn't he? Did Jacko maybe hit the pit wall on the exit, maybe? Because he's had to come back in.
Possibly, but Dan Morris has left the session, so I don't know what's happening with him. Maybe he's just disconnected. But Neljak comes out behind Wet Lemons. 1.2 seconds, 1.3 seconds behind Wet Lemons as well. So not as close as we might have thought. But Wet Lemons now on the back of Bazza with those new medium tyres on. Be interesting to see where this comes about and how much of an advantage he has. Goodness, there's contact! Oh my goodness, that could have been a plane crash. But yeah, maybe getting a bit impatient in his race as he lost out a bit.
Wet Lemons needs to calm down, because with Lewis Craig's error, he's going to take the lead of the championship.
Oh my goodness!
That's another big swapper on, and it sent Wet Lemons into the wall. And has he got a front wing? No! He hasn't got a front wing. So first and second in the championship in this race have both lost front wings.
Oh my goodness me, what a turn of events as Wet Lemons is struggling to keep it on the track. He's going to have to come into the pits to get that front wing replaced and possibly even put the soft tyres on to try and recover it. But yeah, what a series of events. We've had, as you say, the two leaders of the championship completely mess up their races and just, yeah, lack of concentration, lack of patience. I don't know what it's down to.
Well,
but,
I mean, obviously, I mean, that was because of Bazza got the car out of shape there, really. But Wet Lemons was still being a bit too aggressive, wasn't he? He had a guaranteed championship lead at the end of this race, Wet Lemons, if he just kept it on the road. And instead, we've got Lewis Craig now in 8th place on the hard tyres. Wet Lemons is in 12th, 13th, having to change his front wing. He's going to be on soft tyres for the closing laps. And well, at this rate, Wheelnut might get himself involved in the championship.
Indeed, as we've got Neljak all over the back of Bazza here, getting a bit impatient by the looks of things, and he just needs to bide his time. He's going to go up the inside into this long parabolic corner, goes up the inside. Oh, it looks close, but Bazza giving him plenty of room there, and it's a good move in order to release him, as he's got a train of cars behind him, Magic Poop Cannon all over the back of him in the Williams, but yeah, not quite doing so far. But Bazza seems to have gained some time, and Bazza's round, and he's lost his front wing, and he's out of the session.
Speed Sully's out as well.
Sully's out as well. Oh my goodness.
Sully possibly trying to take evasive action maybe, and they lost the car just a few meters up the road.
Who would have thought that we'd have had some of the top drivers in TGP2 this season out in the series of a couple of laps or down the order? I wouldn't have known. But Daniel P. Wheelnut now does come in for his pit stop, with Chris Johnson now taking the lead of the race for now. And wow, it's just a series of events I never thought I'd have been talking about, Dan.
Well, I mean, Lewis Craig, he's now into 6th position here, but there is a bit of a gap then to, well, actually saying that, now that Wheelnut just pitted for 9 seconds, so Lewis Craig, realistically, he could finish 4th here, despite having that moment so early on in the race. He may well get a 4th place finish in this race. We'll wait and see. But this has been an absolutely crazy race. Wheelnut, though, has been fairly comfortable out in front, as he's the first guy of the front runners on the mediums to pit. Of course, we're still waiting for Jack Craig and Chris Johnson to come in, but Wheelnut, you would imagine, will quite easily retain his lead. But after that, it's anyone's.
Yeah, indeed, as Wheelnut is very casually cruising up to the back of Jack Craig with those soft tyres on, and looks like he switched them on quicker than he did in Kota. So Daniel P. Wheelnut in a really good position at the moment to take the win in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Lewis Craig on those medium tyres, 1.9 seconds behind Magic Poop Cannon. That gap seems to be, I don't know if it's stabilising now, but it is coming down. Those hard tyres must be difficult to drive on around Saudi, though, Dan.
Yeah, it must be very difficult. Here comes Poop Cannon on Neljak for 4th place here, and Jack Craig pits. So Poop Cannon, he has got a penalty, Poop Cannon, and Neljak ahead of doesn't. So Neljak shouldn't feel under too much threat here. But Poop Cannon is still going to go for it. Oh, and actually decides to back out of that and not send one at the first corner. So we've got Jack Craig in the pit lane. Where's he going to come out? Mr. John coming in as well. Is Dan Morris going to get ahead of Jack Craig? I think Jack Craig is just going to stay ahead of Dan Morris in 7th place then. So Lewis Craig now up into 5th place.
Yeah, Lewis Craig up into 5th place. That gap is increasing to Magic Poop Cannon. 2.4 seconds now is the gap. So those hard tyres really struggling with them as we go on board with Magic Poop Cannon. Just 7 tenths behind Neljak. I know he's got the penalty, but this is the closest battle on track at the moment. Dan Morris also coming up to the back of Jack Craig quite quickly by the looks of things as well. So that'll be one to watch with those two, despite the penalty. But yeah, it seems to be that the race has settled down quite a significant amount from a couple of laps ago, Dan.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? But let's see if Poop Cannon can close in here on Neljak. He's got 59% ERS, Poop Cannon. Neljak's got 29, so You would imagine he's going to have the pace. Chris Johnson pits, then will surely retake the lead. Oh, Puignercton is backing off here, and obviously he wants to get the DRS down the back straight. He's doing a Leclerc Verstappen from last year, and I suppose Verstappen Hamilton 2021 as well. But here comes Puignercton now. Then he's got the DRS right where he wanted it, down this start-finish straight, and he will take third place. Now, can he build 3 seconds?
It'll be an interesting one.
Chris Johnson's going to come out right
coming around the outside. Oh my goodness, that was very, very close. Chris Johnson taking a very wide line, hasn't switched on those tyres quickly enough, so Puignercton does get ahead of Chris Johnson, but Chris Johnson right in the middle of this, still struggling to get those tyres activated with Neljak all over the back of him. Is he going to try and make an opportunistic move through this very tight section? I don't think he is, but hopefully Chris Johnson now has got those tyres switched on and can start attacking Magic Puignercton. But that was a close one, Dan.
Very, very close indeed, but Puignercton is going to be kicking himself that he's got that penalty, because, of course, right now, Puignercton is effectively a net fourth, because Chris Johnson and Neljak will both jump ahead, as Lewis Craig 1.9 seconds now, 2 seconds. So, yeah, those hard tyres just not really doing the job, are they, really? Which isn't necessarily a surprise, of course. Lewis Craig has to put them on because he pitched so early, but Chris Johnson now is the man to watch. I think Chris Johnson, Neljak, to see if he can catch up here to Puignercton, even with that penalty. Chris Johnson nearly losing it there.
That was very close, as Chris Johnson does have the DRS open now. Neljak has the DRS open as well, but Chris Johnson looks very far back at the moment to be making any challenges into the final corner. But this hopefully will put him in good stead as he does come around the final corner. He'll have DRS again to take on Magic Puignercton. Not sure on the battery levels and who's going to be using the battery or not, but the DRS does go open for Chris Johnson. Neljak still too far back as well, so maybe a bit of a DRS train starting here, Dan.
Potentially, yeah, but Puignercton's 22% DRS, Chris Johnson is on 54%, and Neljak's on 24%, so Chris Johnson has the advantage there in that respect. He's also got the fresher soft tyres as well, of course, but he's not going to make any inroads at all if he's a bit shaky through this first sector. He managed to recover it, and actually in the end didn't lose a huge amount of time, as Lewis Craig gets a 3-second penalty. That's his first penalty of the race.
Yeah, and that's not going to help him at all, as he does seem to be actually closing the gap now, as Chris Johnson, Neljak and Puignercton are fighting at the moment. But Neljak looks to be closer to Chris Johnson than Chris Johnson to Magic Puignercton at the moment. So Chris Johnson on the back foot a little bit. But 2 laps to go in this race. And still all to play for these positions, Dan.
It is indeed. This is it's a bit retro TGP2 here, seeing Puignercton and Chris Johnson doing battle for a significant podium position. This I think I can't remember exactly the season number, but certainly a couple of years ago these guys had a great championship battle. I seem to remember a few seasons back. Right now, they are fighting for second place, and of course, Chris Johnson has the advantage of not having a penalty, but he can't catch up, Chris Johnson. Really. Quite surprising, really, considering Puignercton's on the medium tyres and has virtually no ERS. He's not really closing in.
No, he's not, but it looks like he's got half a battery pack left of energy to use. Maybe he's saving it for the last 2 laps of the race. As he is 5-6 tenths still, 7 tenths, just staying in that slipstream, staying in that DRS zone, keeping in touch.
He's got a penalty, and he's out.
And he's hit the wall.
Neljak had to take evasive action, and wow, he had to run right off the track there and just about got away with it. And Lewis Craig is now right behind him.
Yeah, Lewis Craig right behind him. Is he going to make a move? He's making a move up the inside here on those hard tyres. Neljak gives him the space. He's going to go right out wide. He's got the better traction by the looks of it, but they're going side by side through this section. Oh, there's a massive accident! A huge accident between Neljak and Lewis Craig. Lewis Craig out of the race. Neljak lost his front wing. He's struggling to try and keep it going forwards, as the drivers are going to have to make evasive action. M-Shep now up into third place with Magic Puignercton 12 seconds ahead of him.
And Wet Lemons is about to pass Lewis Craig's damaged car, and there'll be a bit of a smile in Alfa Romeo right now, because suddenly it swung back in his favour.
Indeed, Neljak, is he going to try and get these last 2 laps done with no front wing? It's going to be probably his best option. Pitting now is going to be detrimental to his to his points in this race. But yeah, Wet Lemons up into 6th place now, probably going to take 5th place off Neljak, but M-Shep now up to 3rd place with Jack Craig in 4th.
This has been one of the craziest TGP2 races for some time that I can remember. This is like the old style Baku TGP2 races that they used to be, always eventful. But this has been something else.
Indeed.
I mean, it's been topsy-turvy all the way through, and look, we've got so many retirements in this race, as Jacko and Dan Morrison are battling as well here for 7th place.
Yeah, Jacko actually got ahead of him into the final corner, and Dan Morris seemed to slip up the inside. Don't know what happened there with Jacko, but yeah, Jacko coming back at him, trying to do the old switcheroo, and he's going to dive up the inside here. Medium tyres, and there's a little bit of contact, and that could have been a lot worse than it was, but Jacko backing out of that, and quite rightly as well. Dan Morris lucky not to get spun round there, so... but yeah, I mean, just as we thought this race was going to settle down, Dan, and we get even more drama. But we're going to go
the
on.
Final sector, 14 and a half seconds ahead. His wheel. It hasn't been eventful for him, has it?
Not at all. He's taken full advantage of the craziness in this race as he does come around the final corner, and he has had a fantastic race. A little bit of a victory weave there, and he comes across the line to win this race in Saudi Arabia with Magic Poop Cannon managing to stay out of the wars in 2nd place there. He's going to come across the line to take an excellent 2nd place as well. M-Shep, ever the opportunist. And Jack Craig are actually battling at the moment. Jack Craig's actually got ahead of him. M-Shep has lost out here with Jack Craig in 3rd place. Jack Craig has taken the 3rd place. Unbelievable there. Didn't see that one coming. So yeah, M-Shep loses out, but Neljak's going to come across the line in 5th place with Wet Lemons going to be taking 6th place. Dan Morris managing to recover there in 7th place. Not sure how many penalties he's got, and Jacko might take 7th place from him after the standings and after the penalties are applied. But yeah, Jacko takes 7th place with Dan Morris in 8th. Mick Schumacher in 9th place. Mr. John. He's out of fuel.
And Mr. John's catching.
Oh my goodness!
Mr.
John's going to take 9th place. Mick Schumacher, after penalties, actually takes 9th place. So Mr. John in 10th still. IRT Kaya will be our final runner across the line with 6 drivers. Not actually 7 drivers, sorry. Oh, and Kaya hits the wall just for good measure there. Out of the final corner. But 7 drivers not finishing this crazy race in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, I mean, it was hard to even keep track of what was going on at the time, Stan.
Wow, that was a roller coaster and a half, wasn't it? M-Shep driver of the day. I don't think that'll be any consolation to him at all, though, because he just lost the podium at the final corner. He will not care one jot, I imagine, about getting that driver of the day. But there comes Wheelnut, and check the TGP2 or the TGP website for the championship standings and TGP series on Twitter, because I think he was 3rd in the championship coming into tonight, wasn't he? So this win will surely bring him right into play as well, especially with Lewis Craig's adventures tonight. But Wet Lemons, I imagine, is going to take the lead of the championship.
Indeed, as it'll be a night for Lewis Craig to forget. 2 poor results for him, considering his form this season. But it's all about Daniel P. Wheelnut in Saudi Arabia. A fantastic drive from him to stay out of the wars, take advantage of the drivers in front of him, and to get that all-important win. And we'll quickly run through your standings there. So as I said, Daniel P. Wheelnut taking a fantastic win with Magic Poop Cannon, and Jack Craig in the end taking the final podium position. M-Shep losing out across the line in 4th place with Neljak in 5th. Wet Lemons wishing he could have got a bit more out of this session in 6th place with Jacko in 7th, and Dan Morris, our rookie, actually taking 8th place. Mick Schumacher in 9th, Mr. John in 10th, and IRT Kaya, the final runner across the line, in 11th. And then we go through your DNFs with Lewis Craig in 12th, and night, as I said, to forget for him. Chris Johnson in 13th, Speed Sully, another race for him to forget, unfortunately, in 14th, Bazra in 15th, Blair Grills in 16th, Mike Noon in 17th, and Say Sports, your final person rounding out this order in Saudi Arabia. But an absolutely incredible set of racing, a crazy race as well. with as they say in TGP2, anything can happen, and it most certainly does, and this certainly proved that today. But yeah, Daniel P. Wheelnut is my driver of the day for staying out of the wars and commanding this race when he got given the opportunity to. Who's your driver of the day, Dan?
I suppose nowadays is probably going to be Wheelnut, but I just laugh at the fact that Mike Nguyen actually got fastest lap and he only done 4 laps.
I didn't realise that. I did see that come up and just thought, yeah, he's taking advantage of that. But yeah, wow. I'm a bit speechless now after all of that. It's I don't really know what to say much more of that race other than it was absolutely mental.
It was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, at one stage there, you had Lewis Craig coming actually back into a podium position after crashing early on, but then of course had that incident with Neljak and Martin goes to the stewards. But crazy stuff, crazy race, and as we say, the championship standings will be on the TGP Series Twitter account shortly.
Yes, indeed, and they'll be on shortly, but the stewards have a lot of work, I'm sure, ahead of them after that race to determine who needs penalties applying and where they're going to end up in the standings after this night. But yeah, any final closing thoughts after the 2 races tonight, Dan?
Well, we were starting to think possibly Lewis Craig was going to run away with this championship going into tonight with 3 wins and a 2nd place, but all of a sudden it's game on, really, especially with the likes of Wet Lemons and Daniel P. Wheelnut. It's suddenly all to play for and sets things up very, very nicely, I would say, for next week when we go racing in Canada and Monaco.
Yes, indeed. Canada and Monaco, 2 very different circuits. We've got the high-speed nature of Canada with those time penalties being applied for extending track limits, another one of those races coming up. But then we've also got Monaco, a race where you have to survive, and normally the person who can keep it out of the wall tends to win it in Monaco, especially in TGP2. So an interesting set of races coming up, and not to mention as well that we actually do have the mid-season break coming after next week as well. And yeah, it'll be a well-deserved break for the drivers, especially after tonight. But yeah, thank you for joining us here in for TGP2's rounds 3 and 4. Sorry, 5 and 6. Apologies, got that wrong. But yeah, join us next week for Canada and Monaco for that all-important racing. I've been Mr. Ciappelli. Joining me in the commentary box has been Dan the Man. And yes, see you on PS4.